Welcome back, guys. Got 4 days before the Great Divide machine ride, the ultimate, starts in Mount Zero down the Grampians. So I've got the privilege of leading this ride with David Green. Nick will probably be somewhere in the middle. Maybe sometimes he may get to the front, send me down the back to do some work. But anyway, I'm going to enjoy it wherever I go. It's like a 30-day ride with 4 days break. So the first stage will be Grampians to Port Macquarie to Townsville, Townsville to the Cape, and back to Palm Cove. I'd just like to give you some costings of what it cost to prepare for an 8,000k run. The first thing that I did was I changed wheel bearings. Now this bike, I've done 12,000 kilometres. Now I wouldn't suggest you do this if you had a brand new bike, or maybe if you had 5,000 k's on the clock, you probably wouldn't have to do chains and sprockets and wheel bearings. You could just check them, so you'll get that out of it. But I've done 12,000, so on those, I don't think I'll get to 20. I'll tell you what I did. Obviously, I replaced a lot of stuff. There are things in here that you would do if you had a brand new bike. Just double check everything. But this is what I did. Okay, so I did wheel bearings first. So wheel bearings, so the costing of the wheel bearings for front and rear, you're going to have 6 bearings. There's 2 in the hub, in this hub drive, 2 in the actual rim itself, in the wheel, and 2 in the front, which are a bit smaller. So the costing for that is $139. So won't break the bank, but what you want is you want to be able to get there and back. I've done in 2021, or might have been 2022, I was on one of Nick's rides down through the Victorian High Country, and I got to day 4 of a 5-day ride. Wheel bearings went. So it can wreck the whole of your trip for something that costs not very much. All right, second thing we did, obviously, chains and sprockets. So brand new chains and sprockets. Now I do all the work myself. So this isn't a labour cost, this is just parts. So you can get, I got a JP sprockets and a really good chain. The chain's irrelevant as long as it's a good quality chain that will handle 700 horsepower. This thing's got, a 700cc bike, which has got 74 horsepower. So you can't just buy a pissy little one that you put on a 250. Okay, so that cost about $250. So that's the chains and sprockets there that came off it. You can probably see that front. It's already hooked. I'm taking that as a spare. This is my rear after 12,000 kilometres. This is a standard sprocket, 46, and that's what I'm still running, 4615. You can run different gearing if it was tighter, and I have run a 16-tooth front sprocket when I did a trip around Australia for those big open areas, but the standard 4615 are pretty good for everything that we do. The Victorian High Country could be snotty, but you'll still get through it. The open stuff between, say, Noosa and Townsville, this bike sits on 110 all day long. And then when you get to the Cape, it's no dramas going through the Telly track and the Creb track, any of the trails that are up there, development roads, it works perfect. Anyway, next thing that we did, I always check air cleaners. A couple of clips. Pull the seat off. And this is what I got underneath. So I got a twin air from Rad Garage, and in here I got my little twin air cleaner. I got a compressor, heap of tools in there, a tow rope, nuts and bolts, and my toolkit, the Husky toolkit. So that's what I keep in there. I do keep tubes and all that stuff in this. But I always take 3 air cleaners with me on a trip this big. So they'll be there. I'll probably do, an air cleaner every second day, depending on how dusty it is. So maintenance wise, I change the oil, change the filters, clean the screens. Now, this bike's recommended you can do a service every 10,000. The new model's actually 15,000, but I'm old school, so I do it after every 5. So I'll do it now, and then I'll ride through Port Macquarie up to Townsville, which will be about 5,000 k's. I'll do another service before it gets real hot. So always use good quality oil. So I use Motor X. Now the Motor X filters for this bike, it's going to cost you about $200. Okay, so it's not cheap for the oil, but you don't use much of it, 1.7 litres, but it's necessary. I always have new brake pads, so new brake pads. I've got some second-hand brake pads here. The ones on my bike are relatively new. I put them in November, so they've done maybe 3,000 Ks. So I'll ride them all the way back to port. I'll keep the spare set, and I've got a brand new set. If I get up when it's real muddy, you'll be tearing the back one out. You'll just chew it up in the mud. That's what normally happens. The front can last, but the rear's just a lot smaller, and they fill up with mud, and you just wear them out. Okay, so that's the costing on that. So change the sprockets around $250. You got a couple of $100 for oils. Obviously no labour, and you've got a few oils like I use this Twin Air cleaner oil for my oil filters. So you got another, $30 or $40 there. So you're up to about $550 to prepare yourself for this ride. Now, tyres is another thing. You'll need 2 sets of tyres if you're doing 8,000 Ks. I mean, you can get away with one set, but when you get up there where it's critical and you need it, and if it's wet, you'll want fresh tyres, let me tell you. So I'm lucky enough that Nick supplies me with tyres. So I normally use these tyres here. So I use a Pirelli Scorpion, a Rally, the race tyre. That's my go-to tyre in the front always. And I normally use a D606 Dunlop for my rear. That was in the Victorian High Country. So that tyre's been on there since November. So I've got 3,500 Ks. I'll probably get another 500 out of that. No worries at all. But for this trip, Nick's sponsored by Motos. So I'm using a, I think they're called, I don't know what these ones are called. I think they're, let me have a look. I think it's a Tractionator. Yeah, it's a Tractionator. So it's not a bad tyre. It's a 140, where those are a 130. But it's got a good profile. Nice, and they're supposed to be long lasting. So if I can get 5,000 Ks out of that and get to Townsville, I'll be cheering. And I'll start off with my second-hand tyre, which is in still pretty good nick. Look at that. That's done 3,000 Ks, and I'll get that back to port. That'll do another 2. Not too much heel and toe. On a bigger bike, like say a 901 or a KTM 890 or Tenere, anything that weighs like 220, these things only weigh 150. The front ends get lots of heel and toe, you'll see that, but they still go really well on a heavier bike. So I'll use that all the way to port, then I'll put that one on, and I'll keep that one to the back, and then when we get to Townsville, I'll be replacing the front and the rear for the last 3,000 kilometres to the Cape. Okay guys, well that's my setup for 8,000 Ks. I'm taking 2 GPSs. I use a Garmin 750 that's got an inReach in it, so I can communicate that with the rest of the crew. I do have a mini inReach as well, and then I use my Gaia. Now with Telstra, I know that if you get into places where there's no communication, you can get a text message out now through satellite. So that's a bonus, but I still use the inReach for now. Okay, just in case I don't get it. So I've got 2 backups. All right, well that's my setup, guys. The 8,000 we're loading up today. Hope that helps. Always prep your bike. Don't underestimate things like chains and sprockets, changing oil, just the simple things. It's going to cost you, $550, $600 to get all that with wheel bearings, and it's a must, I reckon, on a trip this big. All right, load up in a couple of hours' time. We head off on Monday. It's the Saturday morning, so in a couple of days, 2 days travel to the Grampians, and then we're away. All right, have a look at Machine's site as well. He's going to be uploading stuff all the time. I'll upload stuff all the time. I'll upload stuff from the front. He'll upload stuff from the middle. Keep an eye out for Travelling Teens and the Machine site. And if you get a chance and you want to come on, it's not too late. There's 2 different stages. It goes for a month. So check out and sign up if you want to. There's still places available. All right, guys. Ciao for now.